Hi, I'm Daphne. For as long as I can remember, my family's Thanksgiving gatherings were a mix of loud arguments, forced smiles, and my Aunt Carol's overcooked turkey. But they were still my family, and despite our differences, I showed up every year with a homemade pie and a determination to keep the peace. Daphne, you're looking healthy, Aunt Carol said as she opened the door last year, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. Thanks, Carol. You're looking exactly the same, I replied, forcing a smile as I handed her my pumpkin pie. Oh, you brought dessert again. How predictable. She took the pie with 2 fingers as if it might contaminate her. Your cousin Miranda made a flourless chocolate torte. She's become quite the pastry chef since starting her own catering business. I followed her into the kitchen where my mother was frantically stirring gravy. Mom, need any help? Daphne, finally decided to show up? Mom wiped her hands on her apron, not looking up. Your brother's been here since 8 this morning. I texted that I'd be here at 2. It's 1:50. Well, Jason helped prepare everything. And he's been contributing to the family in other ways too, she emphasized, her tone making it clear what she meant. My brother Jason appeared, champagne glass in hand. Hey sis, glad you could make time in your busy schedule to grace us with your presence. The air quotes around busy schedule weren't subtle. My schedule is legitimately busy, Jason. The foundation doesn't run itself. Right, your little charity project. Meanwhile, I just closed the Henderson deal. Dad and I finalized it yesterday. 7 figures. He clinked glasses with our father as he entered. Daphne. Dad nodded curtly. Didn't think we'd see you after our last conversation. The conversation he referred to was actually him demanding I loan my cousin Eddie $50,000 for his latest business venture, a cryptocurrency for dog owners called PuppyCoin, after his last 3 ventures had failed spectacularly. I'm still not funding Eddie's scheme, if that's what you're asking, I said quietly. Dad's face hardened. It's not a scheme. It's a legitimate investment opportunity. But what would you know about that? You've been living off the trust fund I set up while pretending to be some kind of humanitarian. Dad, the Morgan Foundation has provided clean water to 3 communities in— Save it, he cut me off. We all know it's just a tax shelter with your name on it. My cousin Miranda swept in, carrying her chocolate masterpiece. Daphne, so good to see you. We weren't sure if you'd come after you refused to help Eddie. He's devastated, you know. I offered to review his business plan and connect him with legitimate investors if the idea had merit. He doesn't need your connections. Eddie himself appeared, air quoting just like Jason had. He needs family who actually support each other instead of hoarding their money. I took a deep breath. Eddie, we've been through this. I'm not hoarding anything. I've built a foundation that makes you look good on Instagram, Eddie interrupted. Meanwhile, your own family struggles. I looked around at their designer clothes, luxury watches, and the newly renovated kitchen with its marble countertops. Struggles? Really? Not everyone is as privileged as you, Daphne, Aunt Carol chimed in. Some of us had to work for what we have. The irony was suffocating. My trust fund, the one they resented me for, came with strict conditions. I received a modest monthly stipend while working at the foundation. The bulk remained untouched until I turned 40, unlike my brother and cousins who'd received unrestricted access at 25 and promptly bought sports cars and vacation homes. Carol, may I speak with you privately? My mother's voice was tight as she pulled my aunt into the pantry. I stood awkwardly as Eddie and Jason exchanged knowing looks. Through the thin door, I heard my mother's urgent whisper. She needs to understand that family comes first. If she won't help Eddie when he needs it, then what's the point of all her money? I told Robert years ago that giving her control of her own foundation was a mistake, Carol replied. Now she thinks she's better than all of us. Their words stung, but they weren't surprising. I'd heard variations of this conversation my entire life. Daphne? A gentle voice broke through my thoughts. It was my cousin Lucy, the only person here I genuinely enjoyed seeing. You okay? Just the usual family warmth, I muttered, Lucy grimaced sympathetically. Listen, I need to warn you. They're planning some kind of intervention during dinner. Intervention? For what? To convince you to fund Eddie's crypto thing. Uncle Robert has everyone on board. She lowered her voice further. Even your mom, though she seemed reluctant. Great. Thanksgiving dinner with a side of financial coercion. There's more, Lucy hesitated. Aunt Carol is saying if you don't agree, you shouldn't be welcome at family gatherings anymore. That you're not acting like real family. I felt a cold weight settle in my stomach. They'd actually ban me from holidays? Only until you come to your senses and apologize. Their words, not mine. Before I could respond, the dining room bell rang, signaling dinner was ready. Lucy squeezed my arm supportively as we joined the others around the elaborate table. Before we eat, Dad announced, standing at the head of the table, I want to address something important. He looked directly at me. Family supports family, period. Some of us seem to have forgotten that fundamental principle. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about Eddie's ridiculous crypto scheme. This was about control. Control they thought they had over me because of the monthly transfers I'd been making to supplement their lifestyles for years. Transfers they'd come to expect. Transfers they didn't know were entirely voluntary on my part. Daphne, do you have anything to say for yourself? Dad's question hung in the air as everyone stared at me expectantly. About what exactly? I kept my voice level despite the anger building inside me. About refusing to help your cousin when you have the means to do so. I've explained my position on Eddie's cryptocurrency venture. I don't believe it's viable. Eddie slammed his hand on the table. It's not your place to judge whether my business is viable. Family supports family, period. Is that right? I looked around the table. Is that why none of you attended the foundation's fundraiser last month? Or why Jason mocked my work as a little charity project just 15 minutes ago? We're talking about actual family needs, Mom interjected. A luxury cryptocurrency for dog owners is a need now. That's enough, Dad's voice boomed. Until you apologize and agree to support Eddie's venture, you're not welcome at family gatherings. The table fell silent. Even Eddie looked shocked at how quickly the ultimatum had been delivered. I think I should go, I said, standing slowly. Sit down, Dad ordered. You haven't heard everything yet. I think I've heard enough. You seem to forget where your monthly income comes from. This caught me by surprise. My income comes from my foundation work and my trust fund stipend, which you can't touch until I'm 40. Dad smiled thinly. The stipend, yes. But the extra payments you've been making to everyone here? Those are entirely under my control. I stared at him, confused. What extra payments? The monthly transfers from the family investment account. The ones you've been approving for years. Realization dawned. You told everyone I was making those transfers? From my personal accounts? Well, you do authorize them, he said dismissively. As a signatory on the family business account, because you asked me to handle the paperwork. Those are company distributions that you directed. The table erupted as everyone started talking at once. Wait, those payments come from the company, not Daphne? Miranda looked bewildered. My father raised his hands. It's all family money in the end. What difference does it make? It makes a huge difference. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You've been letting everyone think I'm personally funding their lifestyles? The point is, Dad continued, your signature is required on those transfers. And if you won't help Eddie, perhaps you shouldn't be approving any family distributions at all. You know what? You're absolutely right. I reached for my phone. What are you doing? Mom asked nervously. Calling my lawyer? Put that phone away, Dad demanded. This is a family matter. I put the phone on speaker as it rang. Daphne, what can I do for you on Thanksgiving? Marcus's cheerful voice filled the suddenly quiet room. Marcus, I need you to immediately revoke my signatory status on all family business accounts, effective immediately. Are you sure about this? Marcus asked cautiously. Absolutely. And I need documentation showing exactly which transfers I've authorized over the past 5 years and at whose direction. Also, prepare a complete accounting of all family business holdings that use my name or foundation affiliation. I want everything separated within 30 days. I'll get started right away, Marcus replied. Do you need anything else? Yes. Send security to Aunt Carol's house. I'm leaving now and would appreciate an escort to my car. I ended the call and looked at the shocked faces around me. I guess this means I'm officially banned from Thanksgiving. But don't worry, I won't be apologizing. You can't do this, Dad sputtered. The family business requires your signature on distributions. Only because you set it up that way to maintain the fiction that I was personally funding everyone. Lucy stood up beside me. I'll walk you out, Daphne. Sit down, Lucy, Carol commanded. No, I don't think I will. Lucy grabbed her coat. I've had enough of this, too. As we headed for the door, Eddie called after us. You'll regret this, Daphne. Family is everything. I turned back one last time. You're right, Eddie. Family is everything. That's why I'm leaving. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Marcus in his office, reviewing the documents his team had prepared. It's worse than I thought, I sighed. They've been using my name to secure loans, partnerships, even charitable write-offs through my foundation. All technically legal since you did sign the authorizations, Marcus noted. But the way it was presented to you was misleading at best. The intercom buzzed. Miss Morgan, your cousin Lucy is here to see you. Lucy entered, looking nervous but determined. Hey, thanks for seeing me. Of course, you're the only one who stood by me. Well, I might not be the only one for long. She sat down. Things are tense. The distribution stopped, and the quarterly payments are being held until the restructuring is complete. The staff isn't affected, I assured her. I've authorized temporary stipends for them. Your mom called me yesterday. She wants to meet with you, alone. No Dad, no Jason, no Eddie. I hesitated. Did she say why? She says she didn't know what your dad was doing, making everyone think you were personally funding them. After 29 years of letting Dad run the show? Doubtful. People can surprise you, Lucy said quietly. Sometimes it takes a shock to make them see clearly. 3 hours later, I sat waiting in a private room at a small cafe. When the door opened, I hardly recognized my mother. Gone was the perfectly coiffed socialite. In her place stood a tired woman with minimal makeup and rumpled clothes. Daphne. Her voice wavered. Thank you for meeting me. Lucy was very persuasive. I owe you an apology. She said it so directly that I was momentarily speechless. What your father did, what we all did, was wrong. Why now, Mom? You've stood by while Dad manipulated everyone for years. Because I never thought he'd go this far. She pulled out a stack of papers. After you left, things escalated. He approached the foundation board to have you removed. She slid the papers toward me. Board meeting minutes with my father's name in the attendance list. He can't do that. The board structure doesn't allow it. He tried anyway, and when they refused, he threatened to cut funding to their own projects. She looked down. That's when I realized this wasn't just about Eddie's investment or family loyalty. This was about control. And this revelation just happened to coincide with your accounts being frozen? I deserved that, she acknowledged. But the money is secondary. What made me finally see clearly was watching him try to dismantle something you built. Something that actually helps people, out of pure spite. Did you know? About him using my name to fund everyone? Not at first, she admitted. By the time I figured it out, it had been going on for years. I told myself it was just a technicality. Family money is family money. It was easier than confronting him. Including you. She nodded. Especially me. She took a sip of coffee. He's planning something, Daphne. I don't know what exactly, but he's had meetings with lawyers I don't recognize. Why are you really here, Mom? What do you want from me? Nothing. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed to warn you, and to tell you that I see now what I was too weak to see before. As we continued talking, I found myself listening more than speaking. For the first time, my mother wasn't performing or making excuses. She was just talking about regrets, about enabling behavior she knew was wrong, about the isolation that comes from living with someone who needs to control everything. I didn't promise forgiveness. I didn't agree to restore the financial arrangements. But when we parted, something had shifted. Not reconciliation exactly, but perhaps the first fragile bridge across a very wide canyon. "He's suing you?" Lucy asked in disbelief. "For what?" "Breach of fiduciary duty, misappropriation of company resources, and defamation," I read from the notice. "He's claiming I damaged the family business by withdrawing my authorization." My phone buzzed. "Need to talk about the lawsuit. Jason." At the restaurant, my brother looked harried as he slid into the seat. "Dad's lawsuit is a mistake." "We agree on something then." "It's financial suicide. The discovery will expose everything. The creative accounting, all of it." "By creative accounting, you mean fraud?" "There are complexities that won't look good." "What do you want from me, Jason?" "Call off the countersuit. I'll convince Dad to drop his lawsuit." "Dad's scared, Daphne. Without the distributions, the family business is in trouble." "That's not my problem. If Dad goes down, he'll take your foundation with him." As he left, Jason hesitated. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About Thanksgiving. About all of it." The negotiations were brutal, but my father eventually signed the agreements. The family business would continue under new management, and I got my foundation, free and clear of family entanglements. 6 months later, Lucy sent a Thanksgiving invitation. Small gathering, just me, your mom, and a few others who've seen the light. No pressure. I didn't immediately respond. But as I looked around my foundation office, now thriving without the constant drain of family distributions, I realized I didn't need their approval anymore. So would I go to Lucy's Thanksgiving? I hadn't decided, but for the first time, the choice was truly mine. And that was worth every dollar they no longer lived on.